Liverpool have just launched a record-breaking €150 million bid for Alexander Isak, and Newcastle have finally given the green light. This comes after Isak applied pressure behind the scenes, pushing for the move to Anfield. With their replacement plans falling apart, Newcastle are cracking, and the deal is now on the verge of exploding. What has changed? And how close are we really? Let's dive in.
What do Newcastle do if Isak goes to Liverpool and Šeško goes to Manchester United? What does Eddie Howe do?
Well, look, Newcastle have been, we need to be clear on this, Eddie Howe and Newcastle have been very, very clear behind the scenes. They will not sell Isak unless they get a player of proper calibre in to replace him. So I don't think that comes into it. And I think Newcastle can afford to stick by their guns there and say, no, you're not going anywhere.
What do you think?
I agree with that, yeah, totally. I think if Isak goes, then yes, but Eddie Howe's been very thorough on this, and I like what he said the other day, that people just don't walk straight back into training, they've got to earn it. So look forward to hearing from Eddie Howe now they've returned from South Korea. Newcastle can't do any more, and that's how they will be feeling, and they'll be disappointed hearing this. But they, as a football club, will get to a stage, maybe even today, where they have to move on. They don't want to keep going on about players they've missed out on. They can't do any more, and it's clear, reading your latest update, that this player wants to go to Manchester United.
One other quick word about Newcastle here, because I think a lot of people have got sympathy for Newcastle here on the number of players they've missed out on, and if they miss out on Šeško. And you're asking the question, well, why would he choose Manchester United over Newcastle with Champions League football and all that Eddie Howe's achieving up there? I think it's interesting. Newcastle could blow Manchester United out of the water if they wanted to here. Let's assume they're going to get £120 million for Alexander Isak if he moves to Liverpool. They've already turned down 110. Well, they could spend all of that money on Šeško if they want to, and Manchester United couldn't get close to it. And I'm sure RB Leipzig could say, listen, Benjamin, you're going to United or you're staying put with us. But they haven't done that. Why haven't they done that? Because they're not sure that he's worth that. There's no point in replacing Alexander Isak, tried and tested in the Premier League, a world-class striker has done it at this level, with a raw 22-year-old, if you're paying almost as much money for him. Newcastle know that Šeško has a certain value and they're not prepared to go beyond that. That, to me, says a club being well run. Creative managers in this country, in Eddie Howe, he makes players better. If you go to Newcastle, I fail to believe any player would not get better going to Newcastle to play under Eddie Howe. And yet all of these players have turned down the opportunity to do so. I think it's difficult to criticise Newcastle from it. These are circumstances beyond their control. But no doubt, it's been a terrible window for Newcastle so far.
How much is the Isak situation hurting them? Because if you're a player looking in and you're thinking, well, why would I go there when this great player who scores goals and wins games wants out?
Well, if it was a striker, if it's Liam Delap or Hugo Ekitike, you think I'm taking his place anyway, so that doesn't really apply. Liverpool have spent more than anybody else. I think it's £270 million they've spent. They're the reigning champions, for goodness sake. And they're trying to get Isak. They've already got Ekitike that they've added to their ranks. You've got, other clubs as well that are spending in excess of £200 million. Chelsea have spent 214. If Manchester United get Šeško, they'll have spent £214 million as well. It's not like the money isn't happening, but what I think Bridgie and I are hearing from the people we're speaking to on an hourly basis, not just a daily basis, is that there's an awful lot more business out there to be done.
If you were a Newcastle fan, Michael, I'll start with you, do you want a raw Benjamin Šeško or an Alexander Isak who's had his head turned?
I love game shows.
If you hadn't have put that, who's had his head turned?
I tell you what, I'm going to go with a happy Šeško who's turned down Manchester United, because I feel, listening to a couple of Newcastle fans, I've got a couple of Newcastle mates that are really upset about the Isak situation. We know how much they adore their players up there, and if you upset them, So I would.
He scores a couple of goals, first game of the season, all forgiven. We're all football fans.
That's
you know
true.
What we're like.
But are we going to get this in a year's time? I remember, a couple of years ago he talked about Harry Kane, Man City. Okay, Man City went away, then it was Bayern, Luka Modric, Chelsea. A year later it was Real Madrid. Do these things actually go away? So if it was me, get Šeško and a little bit more money to go somewhere else. But look, I don't support Newcastle.
Luka Modric and Harry Kane didn't do bad in those years when they stayed, though. They were hardly down in tools, were they?
Well, this is why I don't take these game shows seriously.
I think exactly the opposite. Alexander Isak is a proven goal scorer in the Premier League. I think he gets into every Premier League team in their starting 11, with the possible exception of Manchester City, because they've got not a bad player called Erling Haaland. But other than that, I think he gets into every single starting 11 in the Premier League. And Newcastle have had that. He's loved by the fans up there. I think the fans could get over this. I think Eddie Howe can get over this. We know that Alan Shearer's come out and criticised him, club legend. He's got to build some bridges if he stays at Newcastle, that's for sure. But he is worth a fortune. Newcastle think he's worth 110, 120 million pounds. Liverpool think he's worth 110 because that's what they've bid for him. And Newcastle have turned that down. They don't want to lose him. They can build bridges. We've seen this in the past where players have wanted away. It hasn't happened, but they come back into the fold. Alexander Isak's got Champions League football to play with Newcastle this season if he stays. I think he can be kept happy. And for me, I'd take Alexander Isak every day over Benjamin Sesko.
Darwin Núñez is edging closer to a big money move from Liverpool to Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal, with multiple credible sources confirming that an agreement in principle has been reached between the two clubs. The proposed transfer is reportedly valued at €53 million as a guaranteed fee, with performance-based add-ons potentially raising the total package to around €65 million. Al Hilal, known for their ambitious recruitment strategy in recent windows, are targeting Núñez as a marquee attacking addition ahead of the new season. According to TalkSport, the deal is in its advanced stages, and Al Hilal are confident that it will be finalized soon, with final negotiations currently focused on personal terms and logistical details. Reports suggest that Núñez has expressed a willingness to make the switch and has verbally agreed to the general terms of the contract. His wage demands are understood to have been accepted, and the club has reportedly arranged for medical checks and paperwork to be completed in Germany, where Al Hilal's pre-season training camp is underway. Liverpool appear prepared to sanction the transfer, marking the end of Núñez's mixed spell at Anfield since his 2022 arrival from Benfica. While the 26-year-old Uruguayan forward has shown moments of brilliance, his overall consistency and fit within the team have come under scrutiny. New manager Arne Slot had initially hoped to evaluate Núñez further during the pre-season, but the size and structure of Al Hilal's offer appear to have swayed the club toward completing the sale. Despite the advanced state of negotiations, the move has not yet been officially confirmed. No formal announcements have been made by Liverpool, Al Hilal, or the players' camp. Additionally, European sides including AC Milan and Juventus are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, with Núñez potentially open to remaining in Europe should a late opportunity arise, according to reporting from AS. Until contracts are signed and publicly announced, the transfer remains pending. However, the momentum behind the deal suggests it may only be a matter of time before everything is finalized. Liverpool are reportedly preparing to make a significant and ambitious move for Real Madrid winger Rodrigo Goes as they seek to strengthen their attacking options ahead of the upcoming Premier League season. With the confirmed departure of Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich, which has undeniably left a clear and urgent void on the left flank, the Reds are eager to find a high-quality replacement capable of providing not only pace and creativity but also consistent goal-scoring threat. Rodrigo, a technically gifted and experienced 24-year-old forward, has emerged as a prime candidate to fill this gap. Sources suggest that Liverpool's interest in Rodrigo has intensified significantly as the club carefully weighs its options, especially in the event that their pursuit of Newcastle striker Alexander Isak, their preferred and primary transfer target, fails to materialize due to the complexities of the negotiation process. Although Liverpool have reportedly offered a substantial fee exceeding £110 million for Isak, talks remain uncertain and protracted, prompting the club to consider Rodrigo as a reliable and highly viable plan B. Real Madrid, who have recently bolstered their squad with high-profile arrivals such as Kylian Mbappe and Endrick, may be open to selling Rodrigo this summer for a fee estimated to be in the region of €80 to €90 million, which Liverpool could be willing to meet given the importance of reinforcing their forward line. However, the transfer would come with significant financial considerations, as Rodrigo's wage demands are believed to be very high, estimated at around €10 million net annually, making the deal expensive but potentially transformative for Liverpool's attacking prowess and overall squad depth. Reports indicate that Rodrigo's representatives have already made informal contact with Liverpool, and the player himself is reportedly open to a move that would guarantee him a starting role on the left wing, a position he clearly favors and excels in. While no official offer has yet been submitted, Liverpool are understood to be actively and strategically exploring this option as the Premier League season rapidly approaches, recognizing that securing Rodrigo would help fill the creative and goal-scoring void left by Diaz's exit. Should the Isak deal ultimately falter, Rodrigo is poised to become Liverpool's priority target, bringing with him Premier League experience, versatility across the front line, and a proven track record at the highest level of European football, which would make him a valuable asset for manager Arne Slot's evolving squad.